Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the Captain's Log. Today is the 22nd of December. It's just about 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm just getting ready to start my day here in about 2 hours. Got a long trip tonight, kind of a weird trip. They have me going up to a little town called Antigo, Wisconsin, and then over to a town called Minocqua, Wisconsin, and then all the way over to Mountain Iron, Michigan. And I finished my day. I got to do a pickup back in Antigo. So I asked them if they could reroute this, to make it a little more uh, common sense. It seems kind of silly to go to Antigo and then to Minocqua, then to Mountain Iron, when I'm already in Antigo. So instead of just starting the farthest distance away, which in this case will be Mountain Iron, and then to Minocqua, and then finishing the day with the drop off and pickup in Antigo, they can't do it for some reason. I don't understand why. So whatever their rationale is, they didn't tell me. They said it can't be changed. So I get to drive an extra 2 hours for no reason. So I'll figure that one out. Almost 200 miles extra travel time tonight. It's good for my paycheck, but it's not so good for efficiency. So I don't understand why they route things certain ways sometimes. It makes you wonder what's going on in their heads. Like, for example, recently, in the last week and a half, I started with a delivery close to the warehouse, finishing with a delivery, like, for example, I had a delivery in a little town about 30 minutes away from our terminal, and then I had to drive 2 hours all the way into Minnesota just to drive right past that first stop on the way back. You would have thought they would have sent me to the first stop would have been the farthest one, and then I would just, finished at the close one on my way back. So, figure that one out. Anyways, I hope things are going well with everyone out there. It is just, today's the 22nd, so it's just a couple days ahead of Christmas. It's been a really odd year, and I hope 21 will be much better, especially for all those people out there that are out of work thanks to the coronavirus silliness. You hear all this talk about all these vaccines being approved, and frontline people are getting the vaccines and whatnot, but they're totally forgetting the people that actually need the vaccine, like those elderly people in the nursing homes that are down the list, and people in Congress are getting the COVID-19 vaccine before people actually need it. So I don't understand what that's all about. I think it's just a matter of people thinking about themselves and not other people. You got all these people. The statistics have shown over the past few months that people under 70 have like a 99% chance of survival and recovery, and for the most part it's just basically treated as a flu. But these people that are in these long-term care facilities, nursing homes, hospitals, they're dying at an impressive rate because they don't have any immune system anymore. Their bodies are too old and frail, and of course a lot of them have a lot of very serious underlying health conditions. The heart disease, diabetes, all these kind of really bad things, emphysema, and so people that are 29 years old, or whatever she is, 31, whatever, and in occasional cortex, as Savage calls her, is getting the vaccine when she has zero need of it. I don't understand that. it needs to be going to the people that actually need it first, and then to your healthcare workers, your doctors, your nurses, your first responders, anyone who works in that kind of direct care medical service, and then of course to your police and your fire and your EMTs. Guys like me that spend most of my time in a truck don't have any need for it, and this industry, as not as a whole but generally, has had not a lot of problems with the COVID-19. We drive all over the place. We're exposed to a lot of different people, so you would think our risk would be greater. Of course, most of us have been working consistently since this whole pandemic started, and it blows my mind that we as an industry have had very good results when it comes to not contracting this illness. My sister had tested positive and told me she never had a single symptom. And then of course I had a really nasty cold back in February of this year, so we're talking 7-8 months ago, and it was pretty nasty, but it only lasted a couple days. No, I've never been tested for COVID-19. I have no reason to be tested for COVID-19. If I were to start developing symptoms, like they talk about the fever and the sore throat and the cough and all those kind of flu-like symptoms, then of course I would get tested. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if I get it, because I'm 44 years old in relatively good health, so I'm not concerned about it at all. When this vaccine becomes available to the general population, I will not be taking it. I don't get flu shots. I don't generally get sick, and usually if I do get sick, I get a nasty cold. I'm usually knocked on my butt for 4 or 5 days, and then I'm fine. And this cold I had last February only lasted about a weekend. I started feeling symptoms on Friday evening, and I worked on Saturday through it, sucking down some hot tea with honey and lemon and cough drops, and made my way through the day. I was off on Sunday. I took Monday off, and then I came back to work on Tuesday. So I don't know if I had it or if I didn't have it, but I really don't care whether I did or didn't. Like I said before, I will not be taking the vaccine. Not that it has nothing to do with trust or confidence in the medical, or the whole rush to make this vaccine available. I'm not taking it because I don't care. If I get COVID, chances are that I'll be fine in a week. And if that were to be more severe, like some of the people that have been dealing with really terrible symptoms and then ventilators and all that, then fine. But my health is pretty good, so I'm not too concerned about it. And we have therapy drugs now. We have the remdesivirs and the hydroxychloroquines, and we have all these other things that are treatments for it. They aren't really going to treat the disease per se, but they'll treat the symptoms. So we'll deal with that road if it comes to it. But right now, I'm not concerned about it at all. So that's my high horse on COVID. It's been quite a strange year for a lot of people, and a lot of people out there are hurting, and it didn't have to be like this. I don't want this to be a political thing, but I think our government, our Congress, our Senates, our local governments, like here I live in Minnesota, and our governor closed down the whole state again, and all these people that barely survived the first shutdown are having a very hard time surviving now. And our Attorney General is going after these businesses that are just trying to stay afloat. keep their employees working. And I think it's kind of insulting to only offer these people that are suffering $600. And I haven't looked at the bill. I haven't really been paying attention to the stimulus package. But there's one item in this thing that is not COVID related. It shouldn't be in there. The only thing that should be in this package is directly related to COVID and the people that are suffering because of COVID, and those small businesses that are forced to shut down for no fault of their own. And the Attorney General is suing these people, pulling their liquor licenses. And the craziest thing, they said you can't dine indoors in freaking Minnesota. It's been rather warm for this time of year, but normally it's much colder, so that's kind of a blessing. But now they're allowing them to put up like tents on their patios with heating units, and these tents are enclosed tents, and I don't understand the difference. Whether you're inside of a brick and mortar building or inside a tent with four walls, you're still indoors. It doesn't make any damn sense. And someone's gonna have to explain this to me, because it's absolutely ridiculous what these businesses are having to put up with. Yeah, you can reduce capacity. Have people wear the masks, inside when they're waiting and not at their tables. There's no reason for this. These gyms and restaurants and bars and all these other, non-essential businesses can't operate, but yet your Walmarts and your Targets and your Costco's and your Sam's Clubs can be open with hundreds of people inside. So if you can go into a Walmart and go buy groceries, there's no reason in this world where you can't go in and have a meal. Like, it's crazy. I heard someone say that because like Target stores have like Starbucks and other things inside the Target stores, that people can go into the Target and go into Starbucks, sit down, have a cup of coffee and a coffee cake or something inside, but you can't go into your local mom and pop restaurant and have a meal. Explain that to me. It's completely ridiculous. This whole COVID-19 thing from the very beginning has been completely ridiculous. Okay, yeah, at first we didn't know how bad this was or wasn't going to be, and these models predicted millions and millions of people dying. And I saw a couple months ago they released a finding that of the 200 at that time, the 200,000 or so people that had died nationwide from COVID, only 10 to 20% of those were actually COVID related. And then how many false positives did we hear about during the NFL football season, talking about all these teams shutting down their facilities because they had 30 people test positive for COVID, and then 2 days later all those same 30 people tested negative. They're all false positives. And here in Minnesota, they made it testing available for everybody. So what happened is, you go down with symptoms or not, you get a false positive, that goes into the statistics saying that this person has COVID. And we have these daily rates, 3, 4, 5,000 people every day testing positive for COVID. Now my question is, how many of those were actually real positive tests, or were they false positives? And of the ones that were negative, how many were actually negative, how many were false negatives? They never tell you that. And another crazy thing about this whole business with the COVID-19 testing is they were showing 3,000 people tested positive, but 10 people died. So my opinion is that the more people that you have tested, the more people are going to test positive. But they never mention how many of those are actually symptomatic, or how many just show antibodies. So they all get lumped into the statistic total, saying that this many people tested positive, but they never discuss anything else behind that. Anything to keep those numbers high, because as long as those numbers high, we can continue to suffer from these draconian measures. Masks have been debated since this whole thing began. I mean, even Dr. Slouchy said at first masks show no change in either spreading or contracting the disease. And then they said, oh yes, you need to wear a mask. Then you don't need to wear a mask, and only these people need to wear a mask, and then everyone needs to wear a mask. So I don't wear a mask generally, unless the place I'm at makes me wear one, and that's their business. They set the rules in their business just like I set the rules in mine. And I'm not a sheep. I'm not a lemming. I don't jump off the cliff because all the rest of them do. I take time and I analyze the details, and I try to look at as many sources as I can. And all you see on the nightly newscast and whatnot is fear porn. Oh no, you're gonna die. Everyone's gonna die if you don't wear a mask. But the truth of the matter is, 99% of the people who contract COVID survive. And I don't know the exact details. I don't have them in front of me, but you can look at the exact details and break them down by age. So you're like, but 18 and below, how many people have died? How many from 18 to 35? How many from 35 to 55? How many from 55 to 70? And how many from 70 over? And 99% of the people that get it will be fine. They may suffer, have an adverse reaction to these vaccines. You just hear a study in Britain about this woman who was given the vaccine and developed a terrible, nasty allergic reaction and almost died from the vaccine. So I'm not an anti-vaxxer. When I was in the military, they gave us vaccines for every dang thing. So I'm not anti-vaccinations. I'm not anti-COVID vaccination. What I am is anti-COVID vaccination for people who have a very low risk. For those people that have more risk, as you're like we talked about, the elderly and the underlying conditions and healthcare workers and all those that are constantly exposed to these cases. Those are the people who need the vaccination. Like, generally, I used to be an EMT, and it was required that we have both hepatitis A and B vaccinations. Now, I never had a need. I've never, because generally the way you spread those kind of things is through, fecal oral and other bloodborne ways. And unless you're digging in somebody's dirty diapers, or eating food that people had handled without washing their hands, it's not really that important. But if you don't have a risk for it, don't get the dang vaccine. Let the people who actually need it get it, and then a year or two down the line, it'll be a moot point because we'll have herd immunity. Now, I didn't mean today's episode to be a soapbox on COVID, but kind of just deteriorated that way because I'm seeing so many people that are delusional about this whole COVID vaccine stuff. And hopefully you'll be able to make your own decision. I'm not telling you to or not to take this vaccine. I'm just saying that I'm not. And if YouTube shuts me down for my comments on this, well, that's on YouTube. But this is my personal belief, my own opinion, no one else's. And if YouTube doesn't like it, they think I'm spreading false information, well, I'll take my business elsewhere. Alright, well, hopefully tonight will go well. There's some snow in the forecast, but I'm hoping that it will be done and over with before I get up there. It's supposed to be some light flurries and maybe a dusting to an inch where I'm going, but it was supposed to start like 2 hours ago, and when I looked at the breakdown of hourly forecasts in the areas I'm going, it was supposed to be clear by the time I get there. So if it did snow, I don't know, I'm not up there yet. I hope that the state or the county or whatever municipality has, treated and cleared the roads, and hopefully doesn't get too icy or nasty out. On that note, we'll call it a day. I did do some flying last week. Was supposed to go on Saturday for we're working on multi-engine training with one engine. We're supposed to be doing the engine failure training, and unfortunately the weather didn't cooperate, and we had it wasn't terrible weather, but it wasn't great either. The winds were calm, and there was a light overcast layer. It was down about just about 1,000 feet above the ground. So unfortunately, I'm not instrument rated, and we could have flown through it. There was no reports of ice or anything. So we chose just to stay in the local pattern and just work on takeoffs and landings. But unfortunately, we couldn't do anything more than that. So the next 2 weeks, of course, it's Christmas and New Year's. And normally I change my schedule back to 5 days on, 2 days off. But they're offering an extra $500 holiday pay. But you got to pick up an extra shift. So I'll be working the next 2 weeks, 6 days instead of 5, in a hope that I can recoup some of the losses I had from the 2.5 weeks without any income after my accident with the 2 deer, while my truck was in the shop being repaired. And then my deductible that I had to pay out of pocket. It was 2 separate accident claims, so I had to pay 2 separate deductibles. Even though they were both fixed at the same shop at the same time, I still had to pay the deductible twice. So that was an extra $2,000 that I didn't have, that I had to pay towards the deductibles, which was fine. I had it, but it wasn't extra cash. And then without working for 2 weeks, I really didn't have any extra cash. So this extra holiday pay plus what I'm already making will go a long way to get me back where I need to be financially. The truck, I said, is paid off now, so thankfully I don't have to worry about a truck payment anymore. And I got another $5,000 startup loan that I took out when I started this business, and when that's paid off, my trucking business will be completely debt free. And I talked about that at the very beginning. Was my goal to run my business debt free. So I'm hoping by the end of March, maybe April, I'll be in that position. We'll see what happens with taxes, because I had a lot of maintenance issues and a lot of business expenses, of course, buying a truck and all that. My tax burden this fiscal year, well, not fiscal year, let me rephrase that, this quarter will probably be very little, if at all, anything, because of all the losses that I incurred, plus the tax benefits of taking the depreciation for the paid off truck and all these other things. So my accountant, he'll figure all that out. I gotta submit all the paperwork, and once I get my 1099 for this business, and then my W-2s I had, because I worked for the same company that I contract to for a couple of months as a company driver for them when the pandemic first started, when I was furloughed. So I'll have a W-2, and then from my previous employer that I got furloughed for, that I worked from until April, end of April, I have a W-2. So I have to get those 2 W-2s in the mail and my 1099, and then submit all my paperwork to my accountant, and then he will do his magic, and then we'll go over it, and we'll see if I owe anything for taxes. Hopefully I don't. And if I do, it's just a minor expense. So we'll see how that goes. On the home front, I did finish the exterior walls of my multimedia room, and I'm about 2/3 of the way complete with the insulation. I'm not so much doing the installation for climate control, because I'm not putting any climate control into the room itself. No AC vents or heater vents. I am putting in an electric fireplace, so that should do fine for the winter. But it's in the basement, and it doesn't really get too horrible in the basement. So the insulation is mostly for sound absorption, so um, it doesn't rattle the walls when I'm watching a movie with loud soundtracks and whatnot. So on that note, I'll call it a night. It's just about not quite 5 o'clock, so I'm hoping that tonight will be pretty good. I'm supposed to go home Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. We're not working Christmas Eve night, but I go back to work Christmas Day, and there's snow, like blizzard conditions, forecasted for not my general area, but the state. So I don't know where they're gonna. They send me up to the Iron Range a lot when I go home for some reason, and the Iron Range has had a lot of forecasted blizzard-like conditions the next day or two. So hopefully, I mean, if there's a blizzard or snowstorm, I'll just stay here and I won't go home for Christmas, which kind of sucks, but it's fine. I'll just, cause I don't want to put my life at risk or anyone else's life at risk trying to go home for a day. It's not even 2 full days. I'm basically for a day and a half. So it's not worth it to do any of that. And the company will pay me to sit, with the inclement weather. So we'll see how that goes. On that note, we'll call it a day. Thanks for watching the Captain's Log. Hopefully you have a good Christmas, or whatever holiday you celebrate, or none at all, and a good New Year. We'll see you probably back sometime after the first of the year. Thanks for watching the Captain's Log.